I'm back, and as usual, I have 4 stories for you. If you are new to my channel, I'm Vera, but you can call me V. I share stories that I receive from my followers and subscribers, stories in need of your advice and opinions. And so if you love real life stories, exciting and unique stories, welcome, you are the right place. Please subscribe and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Shout out to Betrayal for being the first person to comment on my last video. Thank you so much for the support, babe. I love you. And now relax, get comfortable, and let's get right into it. Story number 1. Good day, V. I really need your advice and that of your audience. I'm a young lady in my late 20s dating a man in his late 40s. V, this man is the kind of man every woman dreams of. He is kind, caring, and generous. We live together and have been dating for the past 7 years. We are preparing to marry next year. However, my problem is that my man can't satisfy me in bed. In fact, he's very weak in that area. Over the past 7 years we've been together, I can say I've had an orgasm not more than 4 times. Still, I really love this man. I've spoken to him about this countless times, and he always tells me he will get medication, but it has been 7 years now. Recently, an ex of mine reached out to me, wanting to date, even though he's married. A little background about my ex. He told me he was divorced, so I agreed to date him at first. But then he reunited with his wife later, and I ended things because I don't want to date married men. V, my ex was also good, kind, and very satisfying in bed. Now that he has reached out to me, I've started developing feelings for him again. To be honest, my man traveled last weekend, and my ex and I ended up having a video call that turned intimate, and we engaged in phone sex. As a matter of fact, I had multiple orgasms that day. V, I'm confused. Part of me wants to meet my ex to have sex, so I can feel like a woman again. Another part of me does not want to hurt my man's feelings. I don't want to date my ex. I just want to have sex with him because he's married. I also don't want to lose my man, but he's not improving in bed and I'm feeling frustrated. Please note that throughout our 7 years together, I have never once cheated on him. I've always hoped things will get better since this is his only weakness. But V, I'm tired. Please advise me. Thank you. Babe, in this your situation, you need to step back and think carefully about your choices and feelings. You are in a long-term relationship with someone you love. And if your only issue with him is the intimacy thing, here are some points you have to consider. Now, you said you've spoken to him several times about the intimacy thing. Don't give up yet. Communication is key. It is very essential to communicate with your partner about your needs and feelings. So don't give up yet. Try to have a deeper conversation with him about how his performance in bed affects you emotionally and physically. Now, from your story, he didn't just brush you off. It looks like the kind of man who is willing to change for you. Like he's willing to look for a solution to his problem. Now, if you know yourself, tell him ways or show him ways he can satisfy you in bed. Also, if the problem is medical, let him seek medical help. Let him know this issue is worrying you. Speak to him from your heart. Tell him you need to find a solution to this problem. And if he really loves you, he should be willing to explore solutions with you. Whether it is discussing ways to enhance your intimacy or finding medical help. Now, let's talk about your ex, babe. Engaging with him for sexual satisfaction is going to complicate your current relationship. Even though you might justify it by thinking it is just about sex, having sex with your ex is not a solution to your problems. It is only going to create guilt, and if your partner finds out, distrust in your relationship. Now, let me ask you a question. How would you feel if the roles were reversed? If your partner cheats on you with his ex, are you going to be happy? How is it going to affect your feelings towards your partner if he does this to you? Don't even think about it. It is just going to mess up your life. Now, babe, if intimacy is a major need for you, and you talk to your partner and you don't see any major improvements, it is up to you to decide if this relationship can fulfill you in the long run. Are you willing to continue in a relationship where your needs are not met? If you are the kind of person that needs to be fulfilled physically, then you have to ask yourself if this is really the man you want to marry. Ultimately, babe, you deserve to have a fulfilling relationship, both emotionally and physically. Your happiness matters. So think about what is going to make you happy in the long run. Put yourself first and make choices that align with your well-being and values. Take care of yourself, babe. And now, if you have any advice for this sender, just write story number 1 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. And now let's move on to story number 2. I'm a 25-year-old woman. V. I met my baby daddy when I was 22 years old. This man proposed to me and I turned him down countless times. He came to see my mother and informed her that he wanted to marry and settle down. My mother accepted and told me to marry him since I wasn't a child anymore and I had the right to do so because he was okay and could take very good care of me. Eventually, I accepted and began dating him. After 3 months, I realized I was pregnant. At first, he wanted me to keep the pregnancy, but after a few days, he asked me to abort it. I couldn't accept that because I was already 2 months along and I wasn't ready to end my baby's life. This led to a heated argument between us. Its point was that I was still in fashion school and he wanted me to quit and attend nursing school because he said he was shy to introduce me to his friends as his girlfriend, who was a seamstress. He refused to pick up my calls for several days, but he eventually called me back when he felt okay. V. Could you believe this man got married to someone else while I was carrying a 6 months pregnancy? I was informed 2 days after his wedding. I asked for explanations and all he could say was sorry and that he had plans for me. I was traumatized and heartbroken. Fast forward, my baby is now 3 years old. He takes care of all the child's needs but hasn't seen him. The last time I saw him was when I announced that I was pregnant. One question I keep asking myself is whether he was really in love with me or just playing games. Sometimes he calls me to check up on his son and I speak to him nicely, but deep down I hate him. He sometimes talks about the memories we shared and expresses a desire to meet, but since he's married and had the guts to choose someone else over me, I am not interested. My heart hasn't been at rest since this incident and I still can't allow myself to be loved again. I feel like all the men are the same and that they are designed to hurt people. Please, I need your advice. Oh babe, I'm so sorry for what you went through. You don't deserve that. No one deserves that. It is clear you've been through a very difficult and emotional journey. And it is completely understandable to feel hurt and confused about your experiences. What your baby daddy did was hurtful. And it is normal to feel angry and sad about it. Babe, allow yourself to process these emotions rather than pushing them aside. Now, babe, I want you to focus on your well-being and the well-being of your child. Your primary responsibility is to your child. As you move forward, make sure you prioritize your own happiness and self-care. You deserve to feel loved, respected, and valued. Babe, listen to me. This is very essential. Good men do exist. There are good men out there. And with time, you are going to meet a man who is going to love you the right way. However, it is also very crucial to be cautious. When you eventually meet someone new, don't ignore any red flags that may arise. Trust your instincts and take your time getting to know the person before fully investing your heart. If your baby daddy tries to reconnect, be mindful of his intentions. He chose to abandon you and your baby. So babe, protect yourself and your child from further hate. Now, it is clear you are still hurting. Give yourself time. Healing from betrayal takes time. So be patient with yourself. I want you to recognize that it is okay to be single and focus on your personal growth. When you feel ready, love will come into your life again. But babe, it is important for you to build a solid foundation for yourself first. You need to heal fully before you meet a new person. Learn from your past experiences, but don't let them define you. You deserve all the happiness and love in this world. And you can find that when you are ready. You've got this, babe. Take care of yourself. And now, if you have any advice for the sender, just write story number 2 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. And now let's move on to story number 3. I was very happy with my life until my best friend ruined it. She set a trap for me to fail, and me being stupid and naive, I fell right into it. What pains me the most is that my mom always saw through her. She was against my friendship with her from the very beginning. My mom told me this girl was going to lead me astray, but my mom loved to complain about everything, so I didn't listen to her. My best friend was the coolest girl in my class. We were only 15, but she already had a tattoo. It felt like a privilege to be chosen as her closest friend, and she seemed to genuinely like me. We used to call ourselves soulmates. I was so foolish back then. There were signs that maybe this person didn't want the best for me. She always influenced me to do things I was not comfortable doing, but she was my best friend, and I thought she had my best interest at heart. Everything started a few years ago. Let's call my best friend Sandra. I met a guy we will call Amos a few months after we finished senior high school. At first, I was dating him because all my friends had boyfriends. He used to attend a school nearby. I met him at the beach and we would talk. I was not even comfortable kissing him. He was okay with just talking. And I remember he made a move to kiss me a few months after we started dating. But I pulled back because I was not ready and he never tried again. I told Sandra what had happened and she called me a villager, saying that all girls kiss their boyfriends and that if I didn't, he would end up kissing another girl. It was because of those words that I kissed him the next time I saw him, even though I didn't want to. This was the same way she pressured me into sleeping with him, even though both Amos and I were not ready. Gradually, my relationship with Amos turned into something more. He took my virginity and I took his. He genuinely loved me and we had so many plans. He was very hardworking, and 2 years after we started dating, he had already bought a small car that he was using for Uber, even though he came from a poor background. He was also schooling at the same time and doing well. Amos never liked Sandra. He didn't like the way she dressed or the way she spoke. He always said she had negative vibes. But at that point, I had been friends with Sandra for years, and I told him I knew her better than he did. Sandra also didn't like him and called him a broke boy who didn't deserve me. She always said that with my beauty and body, I could get rich men eating from the palms of my hands, and yet I chose to settle for a small boy driving Uber. I always chuckled when she said this and told her Amos was the one I loved. No one else compared to him. Amos and I had plans to get married immediately after I finished school, and at this point, I had introduced Amos to my mom, and she really liked him. In level 300 first semester, Sandra convinced me to get a tattoo, even though I really didn't want to. She had been trying to get me to do it for years. It was her birthday, and she wanted me to get a tattoo as a birthday present for her. I didn't want to, but she kept asking and asking until I finally gave in. I knew Amos was going to be mad when he saw the tattoo. He was a strict Christian and hated tattoos. I decided to get a small butterfly tattooed on my back. Just a very tiny butterfly. Since it was small, I thought Amos would not be too mad. He would talk about it, but eventually he would get used to it. We arrived at the tattoo parlor, and I chose my design. The tattoo artist was already working on someone else. I showed the design I wanted to him and sat down while Sandra walked around the shop, pointing at tattoos she wanted to do next. I left to go use the bathroom, and when I came back, I saw Sandra showing the tattoo artist something on her phone, and he nodded. He started working on my back soon after this, and it was taking longer than I thought it would. The whole process was very painful. After a few hours, he finally finished, and imagine my shock when I saw a huge butterfly on my back. That was not what I wanted. I broke into tears immediately and asked the tattoo artist if this was a prank. He looked confused. He pointed at Sandra and said she said I wanted a different design, something bigger. I turned to her and asked her what was going on, but she just laughed and said a bigger tattoo looked better. I should have ended my friendship with her then, but I didn't. What she did next cost me everything. I hated the tattoo on my body, and I told the artist to take it off immediately, but he said he couldn't, and that I would have to go for laser removal. He said it would be expensive since the tattoo was big and very painful. All hell broke loose when Amos saw it. He was so disappointed, and we fought over it for weeks. But gradually, he forgave me, and we moved past it. I didn't talk to Sandra for a few days after what she did, but I forgave her and let her back into my life. One of my lecturers showed an interest in me. He was around 50-60 years old. He started flirting with me after classes and then took my number. I was not interested in him at all. And the only reason I gave him my number in the first place was because I was scared he would get angry with me if I didn't, which might affect my grades. When I told Sandra about this, she told me to flirt back and said it would give me good grades if I acted like I was interested in him. This was just harmless flirting at first. And then she started talking about how rich he was and how he would give me everything I wanted. She said Amos would never know And that with older men like my lecturer, they don't even want sex. It would be my sugar daddy and sponsor me, offering me things that Amos couldn't give me. I told her no instantly. I was not interested, but Sandra didn't give up. One day, she took my phone and texted the lecturer. She pretended to be me and told him I wanted to take things to another level between us. She also added a lot of sexual comments. Once again, she had done something I didn't want and she just saw it as a joke. The lecturer was interested immediately. I didn't know what else to do. How do I tell him my friend used my phone to text him? It would fail me anytime he wanted, and it would be as if I was playing with him. So I decided to play along. He started sending me lots of money and giving me good grades. He even helped Sandra avoid visiting the failed papers because I asked him to. He just changed their grades and passed there. Then he started asking for sex. This was the last thing I wanted to do, but final exams was approaching and I felt stuck. I thought it was time to tell Amos what I had been doing, but Sandra said no. She told me Amos would leave me if he found out. Also, my lecturer was definitely going to fail me if I didn't sleep with him. I don't know how she did it, but she convinced me to sleep with my lecturer. She said it would be quick and that it was no big deal. I will never forget the day I slept with the lecturer. It felt like I was outside my body. I hated what I was doing and I regretted it immediately after I entered the hotel room. We had intercourse and I left. I cried myself to sleep for days. I had betrayed Amos and I couldn't look him in the eye. I wrote my final exams and I passed. A few days before school was set to reopen, I received a text from Amos to come to his place immediately. I knew as soon as I saw him that he knew what I had done. He wept like a baby as he confronted me. I cried as he cried, and he tried to forgive me, but he never forgot, and we ended up breaking up. I felt like I lost a part of my soul when Amos left me, and he never told me how he found out. Even then, I didn't hate Sandra because I blamed myself, not her. Around this period, Sandra was dating a man we will call James. He was an older man who was more than 20 years older than her. He was filthy rich and interested in marrying her and taking her abroad. According to what she told me, when she met him, he was married with 4 kids, but he was not happy with his wife, so he ended up divorcing her. He was the one who had rented a 3-bedroom house she stayed in for her. He gave her a monthly allowance, which she spent on designer clothes and shoes. She never saved a penny, saying savings is for the poor, and that she could never be poor. Their relationship was getting serious, and she felt he was going to propose marriage soon. Once they got married, she would never lack anything. It had always been Sandra's dream to marry a rich man who would give her the life she said she deserved, and her dreams were finally coming true. Now, Sandra didn't love this older man. She was still in love with her ex, and was sleeping with him on the side. She gave him some of the money she took from this older man. This was Sandra's life, and it didn't concern me, so all I did was advise her to leave her ex and concentrate on a new man, but she didn't listen. At this point, I was still heartbroken, trying to heal, but failing. I felt like trash, and no matter what I did, I couldn't stop thinking about how I had messed up my life. I never blamed Sandra, not even once, until I found out who had revealed my situation with the lecturer to Amos. I went to a place once and was looking for something in the wardrobe when I saw a small touchscreen phone. This was not a personal phone, and I had never seen it before. I was curious, so I took it and started going through it since there was no passcode. That was when I saw the long text messages from her to Amos, detailing everything that had happened between me and the lecturer. To say I was shocked is an understatement. I didn't understand why she had done this. She used an unknown number so that Amos would not know it was her. Why would she ruin my life like this? I wanted to confront her immediately, but I didn't. I didn't even know what to say to her. It was at that point that I realized how much she had messed up my life from the day I met her. She had never wanted the best for me. I had been so blind to all her tactics. I just told her I was not feeling well and left her place. I cried throughout my journey home. I knew she was meeting her ex that night at her apartment. I had taken the older man's number before I left her place. I called him and told him everything. I didn't even hide my identity. He knew I was a very good friend of Sandra's, so he believed every word I said. I told him they were meeting that night at her apartment. He went there and caught them red-handed. Her ex ran away, but he beat the hell out of Sandra and kicked her out of the apartment. She called her ex, but he said she could not come to his place because he was staying with his baby mama. She came to my place with her bags and her face swollen. At that point, she didn't know I was the one who had told the older man everything. She was in tears when she saw me and tried to hug me. She narrated everything that had happened and said things like men were scam and that she was tired of them. She hadn't noticed that I had not said a word to her and that I didn't hug her back when she hugged me. She told me she was going to stay with me for some time until she got back on her feet. She didn't even ask who. She just told me she was moving in. The only word that came out of my mouth was no. She looked at me in surprise, and that is when I told her I was the one who told the older man about her affair. You should have seen this girl crying and asking me how I could betray her like this. She was demanding to know why I had messed up her life. I just looked at her and laughed. The only thing I said was, go and check the phone in your wardrobe, and you will understand why. Her face changed again, and she started stammering. She started explaining herself. She said I deserved better than Amos, and that since I couldn't see that, she had decided to take it upon herself to free me from him. I stared at her in disbelief and screamed at her to leave my house. She was still talking a lot, trying to explain when I grabbed her clothes, threw them out, and pushed her out of my house. I know that at the end of the day, I'm to blame for everything that happened in my life. I saw the red flags and still remained friends with her. I messed up big time, but if she hadn't been in my life, I would still have Amos and I would still be happy. She's going around spreading lies about how I ruined her life because I was jealous of her. I'm sorry my story is long. I just want to know if I am the asshole. Asshole okay, babe. Asshole okay. You are not the asshole. Please, my people, stop ignoring the red flags. They are always there. They are always there. People don't change. It is clear when someone doesn't like you. I'm so sorry for what you went through. But you know you're also to blame, right? I know Sandra is a bad friend, but you were the one who went to the hotel to meet the lecturer. It was your body. Even though she influenced you, you agreed to her. You agreed to that decision. Babe. Please stop ignoring the red flags. They are always there. Your feelings of betrayal, regret, and confusion is completely understandable. She was your best friend and she was supposed to have your back. Sandra has been plotting your downfall for a very long time. You were just blind to see it. And it's very tough when your best friend doesn't have your best interest at heart. You deserve friends who support you and want the best for you, not ones who will manipulate you for their own gains. As you move forward, I encourage you to take time to heal and reflect on your experiences. Always set boundaries in friendships. We are all different people. And it's not every time that you like what your friend likes. And that is okay. Always set boundaries and don't let people cross them. Surround yourself with people who genuinely care for you and uplift you. And babe, trust your instincts in future. And pay attention to any red flags in relationships. And lastly, remember that everyone makes mistakes. And what matters most is learning and growing from them. Don't be too hard on yourself during this process. You have the strength to overcome this and find happiness again. Stay away from Sandra and forget what anyone else will say. Just take care of yourself and know that brighter days are ahead. And now, if you have any advice for this sender, just write story number 3 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section, reading them. And now let's move on to story number 4. Hi V. I'm a 19-year-old girl living with my parents. For some reason, I believe my mother doesn't like me. There have been moments when she had tried for my siblings and me, which I won't deny. She honestly does her best for us. But my problem is that as the first child, I always receive different treatments from her. Sometimes she says she regrets having me as a child and constantly curses me whenever I do something wrong or when she's mad at me. I remember one time when I was young, she said she was going to poison me to die and swore she would never give me any food. For the first few months that followed, she denied me food and gave it to my cousin who also lives with us. One time, my dad was out of cash and told her to give me money to take to school. I was in the afternoon shift at that time. When I went to her shop to collect my lunch, she straight up told me to my face that it was either I stayed at home or walked to school and starved because she was not going to give me money. Luckily for me, I was on the way with my neighbor's daughter and she shared her lunch with me. I remember when my dad came home that day and asked if I took money from my mom so he could refund her. When I told him she didn't give me any, my dad was so mad. He apologized and gave me some money to buy food. To cut a long story short, because of how she treats me, I have distanced myself from her, and we don't have a mother-daughter relationship. Now, I'm 19, and I'm doing a small business that has been helping me since I graduated from high school. I told my dad I wanted to open a store, and he was really supportive and even gave me a loan to start. This woman went crazy when she heard that, and has been saying I need to focus on my education rather than looking for money. She tried to talk my dad out of it, but he told her I am grown enough to do what I want to do. Now she's complaining to everyone in the family that I don't like her and that I never listened to her advice. She's not supportive of my business and is now cursing me, saying that even if I open that shop, may it never succeed. Now I'm having doubts about proceeding with my shop idea, or if I should just leave and focus on furthering my education. Please help me with what I should do. Babe, I'm so sorry for the way your mom treats you. It is clear that your mother's actions and words have hurt you deeply over the years. You have every right to feel upset and frustrated over the lack of support from her. I love that your dad supports you and is there for you. It is great that he believes in you and is willing to help you start your business. Now, babe, if you need reassurance, the only reassurance you need is the fact that you told your dad your business idea and he even invested in your business. It means that he believes in you. He understands your goals, and that should be enough support for you. It is clear your mother doesn't have your best interest at heart. So, babe, it is important to learn to ignore a negative comments. If starting a business is what you truly want to do, then go for it. Don't let a negativity hold you back. Work very hard for your dreams and strive to prove it wrong. Pursue your passions, babe. That is all that matters. So if running a shop excites you and you believe it will help you grow, then it deserves your attention. However, babe, if you are still in school, it is okay to find a balance between your education and your business. You can work on both without feeling overwhelmed. Distance yourself from your mother's negativity and focus on believing in yourself. You have the strength and capability to create the life you want. Ultimately, just choose what feels right for you. It is your life and you deserve to pursue goals that make you happy. Whether you decide to focus on your business, education, or both, just believe in yourself, babe. You've got this. Take care of yourself. And now, if you have any advice for the sender, just write story number 4 and leave your advice and opinions. She's going to be in the comment section reading them. And now, say with me, you are not perfect, I'm not perfect, the senders are not perfect. So please be kind to them in the comment section. Obviously, these issues are worrying them, and that is why they sent the stories to me in the first place. So please be kind. And remember that your advice and opinions really matter. So don't forget to leave them down below. Don't just watch and go. Advise them down below. Now, is something bothering you? Do you have issues that you want advice and opinions on? We've got you. Just write out your story and send it to my TikTok page at vera.ish. There's a link in the description below. Write out your story and send it to me. When I post your story, I'm going to notify you and let you know your stories are. All my stories are anonymous, by the way, and so don't worry, I won't mention your name. Please, if you've not done this already, please subscribe to this channel and like this video. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that when I post, you'll be notified immediately. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Okay, I'm done. Bye.